Welcome to Joy Connection, a time where we connect in conversation to connect you with joy. We'll be right back. I am so excited today to be having a great conversation with Miss Desarae Dee. Well, that's her stage name, but I won't tell you her other name because you don't need to know that. All you need to know is that we are sitting today with Desarae. And Desarae, I have to read her accolades because they are so many. But she's an award-winning artist because of what she does, which is very different. She has really carved a niche for herself, and it is instrumental fusion. It really sounds good. She's really good at what she does on that piano. And she's a composer and a producer who has made herself known across many different avenues across our nation. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
She has won many awards, and I'm going to let her tell you about her favorites. I'm going to let her tell you about the places she's been invited to go, because I'm telling you, she's got a lot of things that God has done in her and through her and opened the doors for her, and it's exciting. Welcome today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm going to ask you, what do you do that brings you the most joy?
Oh, well, I do music in so many different ways. I wear so many different hats.
Yes, I know this.
One day I'm a teacher, one day I'm a composer, one day I'm a producer, one day I'm doing workshops, one day I'm an instrumental artist. And
still fully Desarae every day.
Yeah, I still have to operate as Desarae through everything that I'm doing.
Well, you know, you've gotten the title Toronto's Queen of Vibes. So no matter if you're the teacher or the producer or the instrumentalist or playing at a wedding or whatever, you are Toronto's Queen of Vibes.
Yeah.
So, you know, the crown is on your head.
Yeah.
Because God has placed it there.
Yes, He has.
I know that you are playing in church all the time and playing in very gospel circles, but you're also just playing music where people can go and listen to you in restaurants, at festivals, at concerts, at different places. What is it that brings you the most joy about being able to do all of these things and even to, in humility, get all of these accolades that you've gotten?
You know what? I think it's just having the passion. I love music. And at one point in time, I actually did not enjoy it, to be honest. And
when did that change?
You know what? I think it changed for me when I was in high school.
Okay.
So I've been immersed in music my entire life. My dad was a musician. He was a singer. He used to sing with a group called the Soul Searchers back in the 80s. And they used to travel to different churches and perform. And there's two of us. I have a younger brother. He's not really into music. So my dad was like, well, we see that you have some sort of talent.
Gifts.
So, you know, I always tell people this all the time. And I remember my parents were shocked when I said this to them. I said that they gave me the greatest gift that any parent could give their child. And that's early access to their purpose.
That is very deep. Early access to their purpose. What does that mean? That your parents saw your giftings, they saw your talents, and even though you didn't like it, they knew what it was that they were developing?
Yeah.
Early access. Please unfold that a little bit more in your own words.
So it didn't really dawn onto me until obviously I got older and I've been doing all these different things, and I was pondering, and people would ask me, well, what do you like, how did you get into music? And I said, well, my parents are the biggest reasons why they got me in. And my dad always said that he saw something in me when I was really young. I think I was maybe around 3 years old, and he saw something, and they didn't put me in lessons right away because I was too young. So I said, okay, fine. So they waited until I was 6.
Wow.
To put me in lessons.
They could have started you at 4.
But you know, I don't think Jamaican parents know. They didn't know. So they figured, no, maybe we need to wait till she's a little bit older, which I can appreciate.
Yes.
Because being a teacher myself,
yes.
I think that children need to kind of develop a little bit more. There's different things that needs to happen, like discipline, and can they handle sitting in a lesson for 30 minutes?
Right.
And most kids aren't capable of doing that. So I understand like there has to be a development process
Yes.
before.
I mean, Desiree, you tried to teach my son. And that didn't go so well. But now, you know, he drums and he plays the bass a little bit and he plunks on the piano to figure things out. So there's still something you put in him that he's still holding on to.
But also, I think that there's an appreciation piece to it as well, too, where you don't truly appreciate things until you get older.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I hear so many people that I come across and they say, you know, I used to take lessons when I was a kid, and, you know, I wish I was still taking lessons.
Always I wish I did. I wish I, you know, because like you said, it takes discipline and a lot of people don't have it. But your parents saw this gift and now, you know, you've been on CBC, you've been on NPR's Music Jazz Night in America, you've been featured on Spotify's Fresh Finds Jazz List, you've been the recipient of SiriusXM Music Award. Like, you're being known for this different type of music that you play. But you found where your passion is. You found what you love and you do it, but it must not always be easy. Like, I mean, I found you volunteering for so many things where I'm just like, Desiree, why aren't you playing here? Why aren't you move in humility and you move in passion still, but with humility. How do you stay passionate? How do you stay humble when you know that God has really gifted you because you've been patient?
Yeah, I have been very patient, but I am a strong believer in timing. And sometimes you have to move in silence. So even though you may not be seen, you actually are being seen. And I think it just takes the right people to see.
I think that is so amazing that this musician, this instrumentalist says, sometimes you have to move in silence. Wow. I mean, that's profound because you've learned that although you have this big gift and you've learned that although this gift is loud, I mean, you're a musician, that you have to move in silence. How has joy helped you to wait in silence, to move in silence, to stay humble?
Oh, man. Well, you know what? Having God is a big part of that. I mean, I couldn't have done anything in my career without him. I mean, I can't take credit for this at all. I'm just here borrowing the gift that he's given. So, and he's called me to use it in the way that he seems fit that I need to use it. And not only that, but also kind of following his leading as well, too. But at the end of the day, I love music. I love what I do. And it took me a while to realize how much I really did love it. And I think when I was in my teens, I was like, you know what? I think this is something I could do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pursue it with full force. And I pursued it with full force, went to school, got my degrees, got what I needed to do, and realized that, oh, what I'm doing is huge. So even though, yes, the gift of music is loud, the calling is much bigger than me. And I think sometimes we forget that. Sometimes our callings are bigger than us, not just about us. That we're being used as the vessel to bring forth the vision. And I knew that becoming an instrumental fusion artist, something that has never been done in this country before by somebody who looks like me, was a big task. And I don't think I realized how big it was until maybe 4 years into my career when I almost quit. And I don't know, I just reached a plateau and I didn't know what else to offer. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. It's a lot. It's hard. I wasn't getting support. You know, nobody wanted to hear from me. That's the thing about moving in silence. Sometimes you're not going to be heard. But what I realized and what God really showed me was you are sleeping on yourself. So even though, you know, you have this massive vision, sometimes you overlook certain aspects of yourself. So being a musician, sometimes people like to box you in that way. So they only see you as a musician and nothing else. And I think that's where I was at that moment, where I only saw myself as a musician, not realizing that God gave me other talents that I was not using at the time. And he opened my eyes to that. He's like, I've given you the vision, you need to run with it, but also look at all the other gifts and talents that I've given you, and you're so hyper focused on playing the piano, and you have so many other gifts. So I said, oh, okay. In addition to playing the piano, I play 15 other instruments. 15, yeah. And
15.
Yes, 15, yes.
You were sleeping on yourself.
I really was sleeping on myself. And it was, I always felt like I needed to rely on other people to do things.
What you wanted to dream.
Right?
What God had given you to dream.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
15. I didn't even know that.
A lot of people don't know that because, like you said, I'm humble. I don't really showcase.
But you're right. The whole idea of what God has created you to do, but more importantly, who God has created you to be is bigger than. It's bigger than yourself, and it's bigger than the purpose we even feel we have, because for God to gift you, yes, as a pianist, but to God to gift you with 15 other more, and talents of writing, talents of producing, talents of teaching other people. Yeah. Yes, the Lord has really blessed you with gifts. And what would you say to people who feel like they want to give up because what God has placed in them is hard? Because the fact that he's given you all of these gifts, I sometimes hear from people, you're doing too many things, or how do you do all those things? And my answer is usually, number one, it doesn't happen all at once. But also number two, if God has given it to me, then he expects me to use it, and I don't want him to take anything away from me.
Yeah.
But when you talk about how much he's given you for a bigger purpose and how hard that is, how have you learned to be able to do the hard, to keep going, and to actually go, yeah, I'm certain about this gift and this gift and this gift and this gift, and I'm going to use it all no matter what anybody else says?
Like I tell everybody, the biggest thing is you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to be able to do all the things that you need to. In addition to believing in yourself, you need balance.
Like, right? Your shirt says balance.
Balance.
How do you create balance?
Well, I think it's just knowing how to prioritize. And I teach my students this as well too. Like, you have to be able to prioritize your practice, right? So if you're given homework, how are you going to get it done with everything else that you have going on in your life? You have to learn how to prioritize. What's the most important? I rank everything from what's the most important to what's the least important.
Yeah.
Right? And scheduling and learning how to, do all these things with balance.
And I think that whole idea of, what's the most important is a discipline, but it's also an understanding that what's the most important changes, in this season or on this day or in this time, or, even when I have this, and this, because we don't always have the same schedule or we don't have the same thing calling us, but we have to be mature enough or growing up enough to know what's the most important here, what's the most important there. And it's something that takes practice, doesn't it?
It definitely does. Like, being able to juggle, being a teacher and producing and writing. But in addition to that, also catering to everybody else. Right?
Desarae.
I've had to learn how to balance my own career while also being of service. Right. Because I understand that service is also a part of the vision. Yes. I can't just worry about me, but I also have to serve. And that can be, there's pros and cons to that, where sometimes I have overgiven and I've forgotten about Desarae.
And then you go back to wearing your t-shirt.
Then I have to go back to, okay, I need to balance, how much service I'm giving. But sometimes I would feel bad because I feel like, well, if I take away that, like, I don't want to not be of service to people, but I think I had to learn how to balance.
Yeah. Well, the Lord does call us to do everything as unto the Lord.
Absolutely.
But the Lord also says, you know, our measurement of giving and getting is so totally different, right? So every time we give to him, we actually receive more.
Yeah.
And so he's giving you more. I mean, you've been of service and you continue to minister, and you then continue to watch how God has, in time, opened the doors that he's wanted for you. Like, I mean, how do you, because it says that, you know, you've been one that's constant because of the genre, because of the abilities. You're breaking barriers all the time. Gender, racial, age, you know, whatever. You're breaking barriers all the time. How do you balance always having to be working upstream? How do you balance always having to be that person who is making drastic changes in all these different arenas?
But I also had to move with the times. Perfect example is the global pandemic in 2020. I was just coming into a newfound sound just prior to that global pandemic. So when the global pandemic hit, I was already off running. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, I can't do anything. I'm stuck at home. And I said, well, that's a perfect opportunity to continue to build on this new sound that I have, because now, you know, music is shut down. Nobody can perform anywhere. And at that point in time, I wasn't really getting as much performance opportunities, even prior to the pandemic. So I was like, okay, well, this is an opportunity for me to really work on this newfound instrumental fusion artist, because I wasn't that before. Before I was an instrumental artist.
And now you've gained another.
I've gained because I unlocked the fact that I was sleeping on myself, unlocked all these instruments, but also I love so many different genres. And I was like, oh, I can combine all these genres. Okay, so let's go to work. So I went to work during the pandemic. So using the times, and of course, using the fact that people had shorter attention spans. So I had to cut down the amount of time on my music. So music couldn't be 4 minutes anymore. It had to be 2.5 minutes. And I literally wrote songs that were 2.5 minutes.
You are truly learning to learn. You're constantly learning. But also the one thing that you said about seeing things as an opportunity, not a problem, but an opportunity. So this has been a great conversation. We've gone from making sure you're not sleeping on yourself, to loving yourself, to trusting God, to prioritizing, to disciplining, to recognizing if he's given us all these gifts, we better use them. What are the last things you would like to say to anybody listening to you who's been sleeping on themselves? What's some advice that will keep people growing in their gifts and growing in joy?
Well, the biggest lesson, and I think this probably trumps all the advice I could give, do not let your age stop you from pursuing your passion. I say that because just before I came over here, I was watching a video of a 7-year-old doing makeup, and the amount of precision she had at 7. And she was excited. She was passionate about it. And I thought to myself, wow, 7 years old. And so there's really no, age is not a barrier. It should not be a barrier for you to really go after what you want. You have kids who are 7 years old pursuing their passions, but yet we have people sitting around complaining. What are you doing? So it's never too late to start. It's never too late to go after what you want to do. I'm reminded of my song Late Arrival, and it's exactly about that. It's never too late to start. And you're never too old, and you're never too young, and age shouldn't be a barrier for you to do what you truly love.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I have made a joy connection. You have made so many points that have been so deep. Remember, age is not a barrier. Stay passionate and go for it. Desarae, thank you. How can people find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Desarae Dee Music, and you can listen to all of my music where you like to listen to your music.
All right. And she's made some top of the chart spot lists. So just make sure you download, subscribe, do whatever you have to do, but follow Desarae because she's going to be doing great things for the Lord. God bless you. Thank you for coming.